Morning, everybody. Welcome. So today the topic is power versus love. And I just thought that it'd be a good, a necessary thing to look at a little bit because, I don't know. I think kind of. I was watching some interviews with Jordan Peterson, and so I think the idea, can be around that. Compassion is a good thing. Therefore, we need to have it in the world. But then there can be a sense of kind of wanting to kind of force it or something, or legislate for it. And in my understanding of Buddhism, that isn't how things work. So, for instance, the Buddha said, "Come." When somebody had a dialogue with him, and then they said, "Oh, I'd really like to become a disciple of yours." The Buddha would say, "Ehipasiko," come monk. And it's like a kind of invitation, So it's like the idea is come and see. Actually, ehipasiko means passive means to see. So it means come and see. So it's like Buddhism, and I think like ideally all viewpoints really should be like that. Come and see. It's like you don't. What you really want to do is to convince people by example or by argument, and that, rather than it just doesn't work. I mean, if you try and force somebody into doing anything, what happens? Psychologically, they just go the other way. They react, and so it's really detrimental to compassion in the world if anybody at all is trying to force it on anybody else. It has to be something like a free a free choice and stuff. So and Jordan Peterson's kind of famous for kind of pointing to the way that things like that just lead to tyranny, and then massive amounts of suffering, as happened in kind of totalitarian regimes in the 20th century, Russia and China and stuff, where people kind of just being forced into a particular doctrine or way of looking at things. I'll see what more I can say about it later on. So we'll do some body work, and then Metabhavana meditation, and then just explore this topic a little bit. Okay, well then, if you want to stand up. Okay, so just begin by just gently swinging your arms backwards and forwards. And feeling your contact of your feet with the ground. Just allow your mind to be kind of lazy in a way. So it's not involved, it's not directing anything. It's just taken along for the ride. Okay, so now face the other way, put the other leg forward and do the same thing. So getting our energy moving in our body a bit is, I mean, I can feel this just definitely is helping the mind clear. You know, because the body and mind are interconnected, like many things, you know. Okay, just gently rotating your hips. Try and keep mind and body in the same place, you know, so the one's not ahead of the other. So there's a certain kind of deliberation there in your movement. And then just put one arm over the top of your head, and then just have a sense of just moving backwards and forwards, just lifting one side, pushing the other side down. Just doing it mindfully so that you're aware of what you're doing, when you're lifting, when you're not lifting, when you're pushing down and when you're not pushing down. Backwards and forwards, little stretches. Try to keep relaxed in your lower part of your body, your feet. And the other side. And twist like that. And then take a seat for meditation. So yesterday I was lying in the bath, and I just watching a video of Jordan Peterson and his daughter interviewing Wim Hof, the Iceman. So I've featured Wim Hof in these sessions before. And Jordan Peterson he's had this kind of awful condition that's come out of coming off benzodiazepam, where he's just got this restlessness, and it's been awful for him, real torture. So Wim Hof is kind of, the Iceman. He's got this method of deep breathing and cold showers and all that sort of thing to help deal with neurological conditions and strengthen the psyche and everything. Go against, put yourself in uncomfortable positions, train yourself with discomfort. So last night I'd had a bath for quite a long time, and then I ran all the water out, and then I ran I put the plug back in and ran cold water in. It's January, and it's like it was absolutely freezing, that water, and I didn't kind of stay in for very long or whatever, or let it get very deep, but wow, it just really helps, wake me up and help me sleep and everything, So on the topic of kindness and love and that sort of thing, sometimes it's like we have to do the thing which is which is going to help our mind and emotions through our body. I think it just really woke me up in a good way doing that. Anyway, I just want to mention that because it was something helpful yesterday. Okay, so metta bhavana, loving kindness towards ourselves and others. So just settling into your posture. I think it's easy. It's easier to do the metta bhavana if we, if we have had memories of joyful times. So, for instance, that example from yesterday where I was like, I just really woke myself up with some freezing cold water, and it was kind of funny in a certain sort of way. But there was a sort of a vitality there and a joy there, and I think sometimes we can just plod along in life a little bit, and we don't take enough actions to actually give ourselves what we need. We're sort of a bit passive and just waiting for life to just give us something itself without us actually being a lot intelligent about what we're doing. So just remembering a time when you did really act in a creative way with yourself, and you brought yourself some happiness through doing that. So what was the emotion there at the time? Trying to isolate that emotion. What was it like? So opening up to a sense of care for yourself that isn't that's natural, that's not forced. That's not straining. That has a sense of ease around it. Metta bhavana. So just trying to stay with a feeling of a sense of naturalness, of not forcing anything. So for me, that's just imagining that freezing cold water and the natural kind of joy and humour that came and go. It was being so sort of so cold. That life is full of experiences that have that tone to them, that are just joyful and maybe come from nowhere, unexpected. They're just experiences. So with loving kindness, we're trying to bring about experiences for ourselves and others. It's not an idea. May I be well. Now bring to mind somebody who's a good friend. And maybe imagine them having some joyful, maybe unexpected experience. Maybe imagine them kind of jumping in a freezing cold shower and really coming to life, really waking up. But it's a bit of a shock. And it's kind of funny as well. So just having a general sense of just wanting them to be having joyful experiences. But there's no force, there's no forcefulness in that wanting. It's like it's just a relaxed opening of our heart to them. Not straining. It's opening to the possibility of them being well and having joyful experiences. So staying in touch with three basic things. Staying in touch with a sense of our friend experiencing joy in real time. What's that like for them? Staying in touch with ourselves here, our body and our emotions, sense of groundedness and agency here in ourselves, and a sense of opening our heart up to our friend and just wanting that experience for them. But that wanting has no straining in it. It's just a kind of open-heartedness, open-hearted desire. Being open to the possibility of our friend experiencing joy and that delighting us. I just got a bit of joy there, hearing a seagull. Seagulls are coming back to the UK. So in the third stage, bring to mind somebody that we don't really know very well. Just what we call a neutral person. And maybe imagining them having some joyful, unexpected experience, maybe like that sort of freezing cold bath, really woke them up. And they saw the humour in the situation. So just being open to the joy being experienced in others. So we're imagining the actual experience. And we can identify with that because we've been connected with our own actual experience of joy. So just being open in our heart to this this experience happening in them, being something that we allow to happen in the universe, or we actually kind of would like it to happen. We feel good about it. May they be well. If your mind drifts off onto, or you just get a bit vague about what you're doing, come back to these three things: your connection with yourself, body, and your own sense of agency. Connection with the experience of the neutral person, the joyful experience of the neutral person, real actual experience. And thirdly, the openness to that, the openness of your heart to that. So in the fourth stage, just imagining somebody that we find we have difficulties with. We don't see eye to eye with, or there's some sort of conflict in our relationship. And again, just just be in connection with these three things: ourselves, a sense of our body and our own agency, a sense of the difficult person and them experiencing something joyful, something unexpected. And thirdly, our heart being kind of open to that as something we would like to be in the world. The difficult person having kind of joyful experiences. So in this stage, it's quite likely that what will come up is some way that we normally have of forcing things. I should. If we've got an idea of ourselves as compassionate, or we should be compassionate, or we should be kind, with that sort of person, then we can want to force things. But that forcing is a kind of violence in itself. But there's no place for violence with loving kindness. It's something that we're inviting ourselves to do as a possibility. as the Buddha said, come and see what it's like to just be open to the possibility of the difficult person having joyful experiences. And ourselves being all right about that. So then final stage, just bringing to mind all 4 people that you've used. Yourself, your friend, neutral person, and difficult person. Bringing in these 3 things again. Sense of yourself and your own body and your own agency. A sense of each person having some joyful experience, where they're really coming alive and they see the humour in a situation. Remember this, having a freezing cold shower and they go, wow, ouch. And just your heart is open to that possibility of life happening for them. So we're not dealing with an idea about happiness or an idea about another person. We're dealing with actual experiences. Our actual emotion towards those experiences, the openness of our heart towards those experiences, and our actual sense of agency that we have. And expanding outwards into the wider world. So allow this sense of openness to joy just to expand out, to cover more and more people. So we're letting more and more people be there in our world, having joyful experiences, and ourselves being not only all right about it, but actually enjoying that. Including animals and birds and fish, insects, all sorts of life everywhere. May all life everywhere be well. Just have to get a book out. Okay, so the topic of today, I've talked a little bit about already, but is power versus love, and so in Buddhists, Buddhists around the world. Remember when I went to on pilgrimage to India, and we went to Bodh Gaya, which is the site of the Buddha's enlightenment. There's a temple there called the Mahabodhi Temple, and Buddhists from all around the world come and do sort of kind of meditate there and do devotion there. And often people, particularly Theravada Buddhists, the monks with orange robes and their white clad lay followers, are often doing something called the Tiratnavandana. So Tiratnavandana means the salutation to the three jewels. So T is three, Ratna means jewel, and Vandana means salutation. So it's like a kind of homage to the three jewels which are the Buddha. So the Buddha's the most important. These are the three most important things in Buddhism: the Buddha, who gained enlightenment, the Dharma, which is his teaching, and the Sangha, the community of Buddhists. So in the Tiratnavandana, you have verses which which are in Pali, and then there'll be an English translation to that. So for instance, the verse to the Buddha goes, Iti piso bhagava Arahang Sama Sambuddho Vidyacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anutaro Parisadama Sarati Sata Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagavati Buddhang Jivata Paryantang Saranang Gacchami Yecha Buddha Titacha Yecha Buddha Anagata Pachupanna Cheye Buddha Ahangavandami Sabada Nati Me Saranang Anyang Buddho Me Saranang Varang Etena Satyavajena Otu Me Jaya Mangalang. So what that means is, such is he, the richly endowed, the free, the fully and perfectly awake. So this is all the Buddha, equipped with knowledge and practice, the happily attained, knower of the worlds, guide unsurpassed of humans to be tamed, the teacher of gods and humans, the awakened one richly endowed. All my life I go for refuge to the awakened one, to all the awakened of the past, to all the awakened yet to be, to all the awakened that now are. My worship flows unceasingly. No other refuge than the wake. Refuge supreme is there for me. Oh, by the virtue of this truth, may grace abound and victory. So this is victory over the problems in life, the negative mental states, the kind of ignorance and all that sort of thing. So yeah, so it's sort of, we're kind of putting the reality, the idea of enlightenment, a person becoming an enlightened being, on the agenda, and we're sort of saying this is what they're like, happily attained, equipped in knowledge and practice, fully and perfectly awake. So to go for refuge means, so refuge is like a kind of protection. So it's like I think people in non-religious people often kind of accuse religious people of taking a soft option, like, oh, you're just doing that because you want some sort of comfort with the idea of a god or whatever, but I think the view among religious people is that they are, in a way, they are taking refuge in something, but that thing is actually going to be what will bring them happiness and what will bring others happiness, which is the solution to the problems of life, old age, sickness, and death. So it's like it's not a running away; it's more of kind of running towards the thing that is actually more helpful, So if you invest your life in all sorts of things, like many people do, that are subject to impermanence, to old age, sickness, and death, so you. That come to an end, you're going to suffer. So there's a kind of there's an irony in this, that being accused of kind of running away from life will actually it can be harder to practice being aware of things like impermanence and the realities of life, and to try and construct something positive out of your life in the knowledge that things are going to fall apart, than it is to just kind of slightly stick your head in the sand and just pretend that everything's all right, that it's going to last forever, or that sort of thing. Okay, so then in the next Vandana, the next salutation is towards the Dharma, and that goes, Swagato Bhagavata Dharmo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanayiko Pachyatang Veditabo Vinuhiti Dharmang Jivita Paryantang Sarananga Chami Yecha Buddha Atitacha Yecha Dharma Atitacha Yecha Dharma Anagata Pachupanna Cheye Dharma Ahangavandami Sabada Nati Me Sarananganyang Dharmo Me Saranang Varang Etena Sachavajena Hotu Me Jayamangalang, which means well communicated is the teaching of the richly endowed one, immediately apparent, perennial, of the nature of a personal invitation, progressive, to be understood individually by the wise. All my life I go for refuge to the truth, to all the truth teachings of the past, to all the truth teachings yet to be, to all the truth teachings that now are. My worship flows unceasingly, no other refuge than the truth. Refuge supreme is there for me. Oh, by the virtue of this truth, may grace abound in victory. Again, victory over ignorance. So the word, as I said in the beginning of today's session, the word is ehipasiko. Of the nature of a personal invitation, and it's also to be understood individually by the wise. So it's like we have to with Buddhism, we have to actually understand why we're doing it, and how exactly it is a helpful teaching. So for instance, I think when people kind of like use force or forceful ideas or willfulness in their kind of spiritual practice, they're not kind of really understanding what the nature of the Dharma is. They're not being wise really. So what the wise do is they understand that things arise in dependence on conditions. So if we, for instance, in that meditation, we were kind of bringing to mind a joyful experience that we were having or other people were having, and I was suggesting, imagining kind of immersion in freezing cold water, and that's like wow, and there's a certain kind of vitality but also kind of humor in that, and we come alive. So we're imagining a lively state of body and mind. So that's an actual experience that a person is having. So we're looking for actual experiences, not for ideas. So the wise person is like somebody who is actually looking out for changing people's experience. For instance, like when the Dalai Lama's doing a tour and he's going around everybody and he's just being so attentive. No, attentive is the wrong word, isn't it? He's being so kind of interested in everybody. All the people along the front row. He's beaming at them individually and stuff. And he's like he sees that it's really important that that it's people's people need to feel like they're loved. That you're interested in them and them in particular. Friends of mine are much better at this than me. I'm more intellectual, but I'm working on it. So yeah, just kind of really, it's like a beam. It's like a beam of warmth, warm well-wishing that some people seem to be able to shine on others. So I think there's a real connection between when we can feel a kind of like a joy ourselves just at ordinary experience. And then we can empathize with others, when they have that. And it's just a natural thing, and but some people can be a bit kind of, they don't kind of quite go there or something, they sort of kind of protecting themselves from any kind of like difficult experience. Maybe they kind of they stay a bit in the world of the heads and ideas and stuff, and so in a way, compassion can come to be this abstract idea, and things like fairness, can come in as well. Like the idea is like, is society fair? Are we being fair? And then an idea that, well, we need to somehow address that and like legislate for like greater fairness in society, and stuff. But I don't know if that's how it works really. It's certainly not the way that the Buddha puts it. He says, well, individuals have got to understand the reason to be caring for themselves. You can't kind of impose that on somebody else if they don't get it. And often it is because they can't really relate to themselves in a very good way. Maybe they've got a bit of kind of criticism and sort of aversion, even hatred towards themselves, and then they're wanting to sort of overcome that, and then they want to overcome it in the world, and it all becomes a bit kind of idea-led, forced, something that's just forced and straining and stuff. So I think the Buddhist tries to kind of accept life as it is, and to practice contentment, with how things are, but at the same time, to do the best that they can, within the limitations of what they have. And often people can do a lot. I mean, when you're not really like looking after your body very well, or looking at, in a way, sometimes not looking after it can be looking after it. So if you just really become much more accustomed to hardship and to pain and to like freezing cold water and stuff like that, it's like that in itself is a form of contentment, because you just feel alive. You just feel alive. You're not sort of thinking, I'm only going to be happy if I have all these things, like these possessions, this clothes, this warm room or whatever it is, it's like you kind of learn to sort of be alive in the world, like Wim Hof talks about, kind of just exposing yourself to nature more, to cold, to heat, and I think you do learn to just look after yourself in a much more immediate way, So it's like you make choices, Oh, I'm too cold now. I'm going to get out. I'm going to stop this, or what do I need to do to do some exercise and make my body come alive, that sort of thing. So I think if we can be more like in the world like that, then we sort of want less, because we're getting such a lot just from our own immediate experience in terms of vitality and things. And then, because we feel happier, then there's not this sense of, then maybe we don't think that the world is such a bad place, that we need to sort of force it to change, in some sort of way, But but also if we're putting, if we're reducing our kind of needs for comfort and that sort of thing, what that does is it just creates a bigger space for our hearts to be there in the world with ourselves and others, so that we are paying attention to ourselves, and we are paying attention to others, and supporting them in their development, So I think if we can do that, then we become what's called a sangha. Like a sangha is a group of Buddhists. And so I'll just finish the Tiratnavandana, finish the verses off. So the Sangha Vandana goes, Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujapatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nayapatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sami Chipatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Yadidam Jatari Purasayigani Hata Purasa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneo Pahuneo Dakineo Angela Karanio Anutarang Punyaketang Lokasati Sanghang Jivata Paryantang Saranangachami Yecha Sangha Atitacha Yecha Sangha Anagata Pachupana Cheye Sangha Ahangavandami Sabada Natime Sarananganyang Sanghome Saranang Varang Hetena Satyavajena Otume Jayamangalang. So that means happily proceeding is the brotherhood of the hearers of the richly endowed one. Those people, those who listen to the Buddha's message, uprightly proceeding. So it's like ethical, methodically proceeding. So it's like understanding how things work, and then acting according to that. Kind of being methodical with meditation, with ethics, with your body, what you're doing with your body, correctly proceeding. Namely, these 4 pairs of individuals, these 8 persons. This is referring to people who are far along the path, called stream entrance and beyond. They're guaranteed to attain enlightenment. this brotherhood of hearers of the richly endowed one is worthy of worship, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of salutation with folded hands, an incomparable source of goodness to the world. Yeah. So the Sangha is like a kind of a voluntary association of individuals, so of individual like Buddhist practitioners who are together because the believe in the Buddha's message and the Buddha's teachings and stuff, and they come together to support each other in that. The order that I belong to is a collection of freely associating individuals. There's like 2,000 odd people around the world who are. We don't actually. The order doesn't have any legal entity. It's just a group that's choosing to associate with each other. We're all ordained. So I think just to summarise a bit, that there's a lot in the Buddha's attitude towards religion and towards what a disciple is, that's that can speak to the world more broadly. So in Tiratnavandana we talk about the love mode and the power mode. So the power mode is when you're kind of forcing somebody else to do something, and the love mode is where there's no force at all in anything, So within the Tiratnavandana Buddhist order, order members are not allowed to use the power mode at all with each other. They've got to always use the love mode. So what's an example of the power mode? Well, it might be that, say, for instance, if you're a parent and your child is just about to run between two cars out into the road, and they might get knocked down, then you grab hold of them, so in that grabbing hold of them, you're using the power mode, you're restricting their freedom, but you're only doing that because that power mode is subordinate to the love mode. You're doing it in order to benefit their welfare. So it's like, sometimes force needs to be used in order to, if it serves the love mode, if it serves the the higher, if it serves the higher happiness of everybody. So in a way, like maybe doing that freezing cold shower thing that Wim Hof does is a little bit like that. It's like power mode, but you're forcing yourself to get under that shower, but it's subordinate to the love mode because you really benefit from it later on. When you're kind of glowing with energy and stuff. Yeah. So power in Buddhism, is the power in Buddhism? Well, there are what are called the 5 powers. So the 5 powers are the 5 spiritual faculties brought to the point of unshakability. So what are the 5 spiritual faculties? Well, there's concentration. In a way, it's like meditation. So you've got concentration on the one hand, and you've got samadhi. So, and you've also got virya on the other hand, which is like vigor. So it's like having kind of sort of vigorous robustness to life, so that you're not blown away, or you don't give up when things get difficult. You don't stop being ethical just because things are either very painful or very pleasurable. You don't get distracted by pleasure and pain. You stay on point, with being ethical. Perfect samadhi. Your meditation practice. You stay on top of that. You calm. And you build this focus up, so that when samadhi becomes a power, it's like your focus on attaining nirvana cannot be shaken. So your concentration on that cannot be shaken. And then you've got faith, or shraddha, and you've got wisdom, prajna, the two other spiritual faculties that develop into powers. When your faith in the three jewels is unshakable, obviously that is when you can be guaranteed to attain enlightenment. But it's kind of unshakable based on your own experience. It's not, it has to be, doesn't it, really? And then your wisdom is also developed to the point of being unshakable. So it's like you really do understand everything clearly, and you're not kind of deluded in any way about the way that things are. You don't think that things are permanent when they're impermanent, or sources of happiness when they're sources of suffering, that sort of thing. So you got samadhi, virya, shraddha, and prajna, and then you've got mindfulness, sati, in the middle, which is balancing the four out. So we can have too much of one thing. We can not enough. Well, actually, if we have a lack of something, it's a lack of mindfulness. So if we have a lack of wisdom, then we can be gullible about things. We have too much faith and not enough wisdom. It's like we become gullible. So it's like we need to bring all the faculties up completely, before we can attain enlightenment. So a power in Buddhism is something. It's almost like it's an aspect of your spiritual personality, which you build up for yourself, in a way, sort of in response to the world, So you build up faith, you build up wisdom, you build up concentration, you build up virya, energy in pursuit of the good. You build up mindfulness, and this is what helps you, become the sort of person who is always skillful, doesn't flinch from reality, always says the most appropriate thing to people. So it's instructive, I think, just to wind up a bit, that when people get ordained into the Tiratnavandana Buddhist order, you take on 10 ethical precepts or training principles, and these kind of slightly illustrate where Buddhists are trying to go to. So you've got the first precept, and that's represented by, and Sangharakshita is represented. He's the founder of Tiratnavandana, has represented these by precious substances as a way of saying, actually, it's like you're bringing something really valuable into the world. It's a bit like this idea of the jewels, 3 jewels, by practicing ethics. So the first precept is loving kindness, abstaining from doing harm, and that's like a diamond, he says. And then you've got generosity, with open-handed generosity, and that's like gold. And then you've got stillness, simplicity, and contentment. So not kind of allowing your desire, desires for sensual experience, including things like sex or, kind of anything that's just a food, even, anything that's just a sensual experience distracts you from doing the right thing, being careful with yourself and others, not harming others. So that's a crystal, and he talks about a blue or pink crystal, depending on what your gender is, that sort of thing. And then you've got truthful speech. So you've got four speech precepts. You've got truthful speech, which is a pearl. But you've also got kindly speech, which is amber. You've got you've got helpful speech, which is silver. And you've got harmonious speech, which is an opal. So I went into speech a couple of weeks ago about, the Buddha would never say anything that was not true or not helpful, but he would sometimes say things that are disagreeable, but it's to people, but if it was helpful and useful for them to hear, and truthful for them to hear, but only at the right time. He'd only say it at the right time. And the same with anything that was agreeable to them, he'd only say it at the right time. So these 4 speech precepts. And then you've got 3 mind precepts. You've got the non-covetousness mind precept. Tranquility of mind, not kind of getting into too much, just coveting this and coveting that. So that's an emerald, so like as in, green, green for envy, sort of thing. And then you've got compassion, non-hatred of mind and emotions. It is so mind is emotions as well. So non-hatred, compassion, which is a ruby red, and then you've got right view, or non-ignorance, not having wrong views, and that's a sapphire. So I think this gives us a sense of the sort of thing that the sort of world you're going to bring about if you do all of that. So your body and your speech and your mind are all going to be conducive. The bodily acts of speech, acts of mind, and emotions are all going to be conducive to a world of well-being for everybody. So so this is what I'm and others are trying to do as ordained Buddhists, and so there's very much a sense of I have to be behind this, and I have to be understanding what I'm doing, and it's hard to imagine kind of somebody legislating that I do this, that I take this on. And that working, it's like I have to be motivated myself to do, I have to understand why I'm doing this and the benefit of it and everything. So I have to have that, I have to have understood that. I have to just seen it and then just assented to it of my own accord, sort of thing. So so moving away from this idea of it's possible to, legislate religion or any kind of viewpoint, even if it does supposedly involve compassion and stuff like that, it just won't work. It just won't work, and in fact, it'll just cause suffering. If you start telling people what they can't do all the time, they just become demotivated and resentful, and then start kind of fighting it and causing pain and stuff. So that's it, I think, for today. All right then. Thanks everybody. Bye bye.